The genesis of conflict, 1945 to 1948. The period from 1945 to 1948 witnessed a dramatic reshaping of the Middle East. World War II had ended, leaving a world grappling with its aftermath. The horrors of the Holocaust profoundly impacted global perspectives on the Jewish question. The Zionist movement, advocating for a Jewish homeland in Palestine, gained unprecedented international support. This period laid the groundwork for the birth of Israel and the subsequent 1948 Arab-Israeli War. This essay will explore the key events and decisions that shaped this pivotal era. The British Mandate in Palestine, established after World War I, faced increasing challenges. Britain struggled to balance conflicting promises made to both Jews and Arabs. Rising tensions between the two communities fueled escalating violence.
Jewish militant groups targeted British forces, demanding an end to restrictions on Jewish immigration. The situation became increasingly untenable for the British, leading them to relinquish control to the newly formed United Nations.
From Holocaust to homeland, the Zionist dream realized. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany, became a turning point in the Zionist movement. The sheer scale of the atrocity shocked the world and generated immense sympathy for the Jewish people.
The plight of Holocaust survivors, many of whom sought refuge in Palestine, intensified pressure on the international community to find a solution to the Jewish question. The Holocaust underscored the urgent need for a safe and secure homeland for the Jewish people.
The shadow of the Holocaust and the urgency of a homeland. The horrors of the Holocaust cast a long shadow over the post-World War II world. The systematic extermination of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany profoundly impacted global perceptions of the Jewish question.
The sheer scale of the atrocity generated widespread sympathy and support for the Zionist cause. The Holocaust underscored the urgent need for a safe and secure homeland for the Jewish people, a place where they could determine their own destiny and live free from persecution.
Section 3, Exodus 1947, a symbol of Jewish determination. The Exodus 1947 incident became a powerful symbol of the Jewish struggle for a homeland and the desperation of Holocaust survivors seeking refuge.
The ship, carrying over 4,500 Jewish refugees, mostly Holocaust survivors, was intercepted by British forces and prevented from reaching Palestine.
The incident captured international attention and galvanized support for the Zionist cause, highlighting the plight of Jewish refugees and the injustices of British policy. The British government's decision to turn back the Exodus 1947 was met with widespread condemnation. The images of Holocaust survivors being forcibly removed from the ship and returned to Europe shocked the world. Section 1. Britain's Mandate Surrender, a turning point. By 1947, Great Britain, exhausted and financially drained by World War II, found the burden of administering the Mandate of Palestine increasingly unsustainable.
The escalating violence between Jewish and Arab communities made the Mandate a thorny problem with no easy solutions. The British government decided to relinquish control and hand the issue over to the newly formed United Nations.
This decision marked a turning point, paving the way for international intervention and the creation of the State of Israel. Section 2. UNSCOP and the Partition Plan, a controversial solution. The UN Special Committee on Palestine, tasked with finding a solution to the complex Palestine question, embarked on a fact-finding mission to the region.
The committee, composed of representatives from various countries, gathered evidence from both Jewish and Arab communities, attempting to understand the historical, political, and social dynamics at play. After months of investigation and deliberation, UNSCOP proposed a controversial solution: the partition of Palestine into 2 independent states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem designated as an international zone.
The partition plan outlined in UN Resolution 181, allocated approximately 56% of the land to the proposed Jewish state and 43% to the Arab state. Jerusalem, considered holy by Jews, Christians and Muslims, was to be placed under international administration to ensure access for all religious communities. The plan also addressed issues such as economic union, minority rights, and the transition from mandate rule to independence. The UN Partition Plan, adopted by the UN General Assembly on November 29, 1947, ignited a firestorm of reactions across Palestine and the wider Arab world.
While the Jewish community, represented by the Jewish Agency, cautiously accepted the plan, viewing it as a long-awaited opportunity for self-determination, the Arab community and neighboring Arab states vehemently rejected it.
This stark divide in opinion set the stage for a bloody civil war and the subsequent 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The partition plan, intended to be a solution, instead became a catalyst for further conflict. The Arab rejection of the partition plan stemmed from several factors.
Palestinian Arabs saw it as an illegitimate dispossession of their land, arguing that the newly arrived Jewish immigrants were being granted a disproportionate share of territory. They also felt that the international community had disregarded their historical and cultural ties to Palestine.
The UN partition plan, intended to resolve the conflict in Palestine, instead ignited a spark that set the region ablaze. The plan's approval by the UN General Assembly on November 29, 1947, was met with immediate and violent reactions from both Arab and Jewish communities.
The fragile peace that had existed under the British mandate shattered, replaced by escalating clashes and open warfare. The partition plan, designed to create two states, became the catalyst for a bloody civil war.
The Arab community in Palestine, along with neighboring Arab states, vehemently rejected the partition plan, viewing it as an unjust dispossession of their land. They saw the plan as a betrayal by the international community and a validation of the Zionist project, which they perceived as a colonial enterprise. As the Civil War intensified, several key battles emerged that shaped the course of the conflict and ultimately determined the fate of Palestine. These battles were fought not only for a strategic territory but also for symbolic significance, as both sides sought to establish control over key areas and demonstrate their military prowess. The battles were often brutal and resulted in significant casualties on both sides, further deepening the animosity and fueling the cycle of violence. One of the most significant battles of the Civil War was the fight for control of Haifa, a strategically important port city with a mixed Arab and Jewish population. In April 1948, Jewish forces launched a major offensive against Arab militias and irregular forces, ultimately capturing the city. The battle for Haifa resulted in a significant exodus of Arab residents, who fled their homes fearing reprisals. The capture of Haifa was a major victory for the Jewish forces, securing a vital port and strengthening their position in the north of the country. Section 3, the Palestinian Exodus, a tragedy unfolds. As the fighting intensified and Jewish forces gained the upper hand, a mass exodus of Palestinian Arabs began, a tragedy that would become known as the Nakba, or catastrophe. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled their homes and villages, driven by fear, violence, and in some cases direct expulsion by Jewish forces. The exodus transformed the demographic landscape of Palestine, creating a massive refugee crisis that continues to reverberate to this day. The reasons for the Palestinian exodus are complex and contested. While some Palestinians fled voluntarily, fearing for their safety amid the escalating violence, others were forced from their homes by Jewish forces. The Deir Yassin massacre, in which over 100 Palestinian villagers were killed by Jewish paramilitary groups, instilled fear and panic among the Arab population, contributing to the mass flight. Section 1. the British departure ending the mandate. On May 14, 1948, the British mandate in Palestine officially ended. British forces withdrew, leaving behind a power vacuum and a volatile situation. This marked a pivotal moment leading to Israeli independence and the Arab-Israeli War. The departure was complex, marked by escalating violence between Jewish and Arab communities. Section 2, Proclamation of Statehood, the Birth of Israel. Just hours before the British mandate expired, David Ben-Gurion read the Declaration of Independence, proclaiming the State of Israel. This momentous event on May 14, 1948, marked the culmination of Zionist aspirations and the realization of a long-held dream of a Jewish homeland. The birth of Israel was a defining moment in history, setting the stage for a new chapter in the Middle East. Section 3, Immediate Repercussions, the Arab Reaction. The declaration of Israeli independence was met with immediate and hostile reactions from the Arab world.
Neighboring Arab states, including Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq, rejected the legitimacy of the newly formed Jewish state and viewed it as an illegitimate encroachment on Arab land.
Within hours of the declaration, armies from these countries launched a coordinated invasion of Israel, marking the beginning of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War.
The Arab League, which had consistently opposed the partition plan, saw the declaration of Israeli independence as a provocation and a violation of Arab rights.
They argued that Palestine was an integral part of the Arab world, and that the establishment of a Jewish state was a colonialist project imposed by Western powers.
The Arab states pledged to liberate Palestine from Zionist control and restore Arab sovereignty over the entire territory.
Section 1, David versus Goliath, the early stages of war. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War, which erupted immediately following the declaration of Israeli independence, pitted the newly formed Israeli Defense Forces, also known as the IDF, against the combined armies of several Arab states. The IDF, composed of former paramilitary groups and a hastily assembled conscription force, faced a seemingly insurmountable challenge. The Arab armies, while not unified in their command structure, possessed superior numbers in terms of manpower and weaponry. This initial disparity in military strength framed the early stages of the war as a classic David versus Goliath struggle, with Israel fighting for its very survival against overwhelming odds. Despite their numerical and material disadvantages, the IDF possessed several key advantages. They were fighting on their home turf with a deep-seated motivation to defend their newly established state. Section 2, the Battle for Jerusalem, a city divided. The Battle for Jerusalem became a focal point of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Jerusalem was designated as an international zone under the UN partition plan. However, the plan's implementation was disrupted by the outbreak of war. The battle left the city divided and its future uncertain. The Jordanian Arab Legion played a prominent role in the battle. Led by British officers, they captured East Jerusalem, including the Old City. The fall of the Old City cut off access to the Western Wall. Jordanian control of East Jerusalem lasted until the Six-Day War in 1967. Section 3, Armistice and Aftermath, a reshaped landscape. By early 1949, after months of intense fighting, the 1948 Arab-Israeli War began to wind down. A series of armistice agreements were signed between Israel and the surrounding Arab states, formally ending the hostilities. These agreements, brokered by the United Nations, established ceasefire lines and delineated the territorial boundaries between Israel and its neighbors. The armistice agreements, while not a formal peace treaty, marked the end of the major fighting and ushered in a period of uneasy truce. The armistice agreements resulted in a dramatically reshaped political map of the region. The unfinished business of 1948. From 1945 to 1949, the Middle East saw a seismic shift, culminating in the birth of Israel and the displacement of Palestinian Arabs. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War altered the region's political and demographic landscape. The war's outcome secured Israel's existence, but left unresolved issues fueling the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The armistice agreements were a temporary cessation of hostilities, leaving many questions unanswered. Israel's creation fulfilled the Zionist dream, providing a refuge for Holocaust survivors and Jews fleeing persecution. However, this came at a steep price for the Palestinian Arab population. The Nakba resulted in the displacement of a majority of Palestine's Arab population, creating a refugee crisis. The unresolved status of Palestinian refugees remains a major obstacle to peace. The 1948 war left Jerusalem divided and contested. Jordanian control of East Jerusalem further complicated the city's status. The division of Jerusalem became a potent symbol of the unresolved conflict. The future of Jerusalem remains one of the most sensitive issues in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The 1948 Arab-Israeli war was a clash of narratives, a struggle over identity and belonging. The war's legacy is one of profound loss and unresolved grievances on both sides. The unresolved issues of 1948 continue to shape the Middle East and hinder efforts for peace.